Well, hello, everybody. On this Tuesday afternoon, I'm Del Shores.
I'm Emerson Collins, and you're watching The Del and Emerson Show.
Straight talk.
Real gay. Hi, Del Shores.
Woo! How are you?
Oh, I am fine, getting by. It is the last day of Pride Month. We're continuing our Pride and Protest series. Of course, Pride is year-round.
Yes, it is. I'm proud. I'm proud in my heart. I'm proud in my mind. I'm ready for July.
But speaking of Pride, you got all those rainbows. Tell us about your set.
Yes, I'm kind of a nervous wreck because I'm literally running. Basically running. I mean that I'm going to hit another Zoom the moment that we're done. We're ending the show a little bit early, so I can host a really great event. It's called the Rise Together. It's benefiting. I'll let you see the backdrop there, the Greg Dollinger Memorial AIDS Fund, and they've been around for 25 years in the Metroplex Dallas-Fort Worth. And this is, they like many events. They're having to do live stream. Their big benefit, and so it's my pleasure to host this. And it starts right at 5 our time, 7 o'clock Central Time, and just some really good performers. I'm excited. Chad Michaels is performing, and Trinice from American Idol, and Ada Fox, who I performed with last year at Knoxville Pride. So it'd be like a little reunion of sorts. And these live things, you just hope for the best, Emerson.
I mean, it is true. I mean, it's the full month, appearances everywhere, virtual prides, everybody making the difference. But well, good. It means that people can make sort of a little a night of it. Watch this show and then turn around and tune into that show. I just put the website into the chat room so you can see Del perform over there.
Yeah, I'm just going to be hosting, but given
that is a performance, being an MC.
Performance of sorts. It's that, yeah. And next up, we have the amazing. I'm going to lower my voice, my radio voice.
Are you going to do the straight talk version of your voice?
Yes. Welcome, Dallas. Welcome. But
thank you for being here.
The great thing about these virtual events is that if it's a Dallas event, you have to be in Dallas. But now, just be everywhere, and they've really been helping people. Their philosophy is when all the other organizations, when funds play out, they step in. They've been doing this for 25 years.
That's amazing. And it really is true. We've been able to watch so many Pride events from so many places as a result of staying at home and people making them more accessible. And it's also beneficial to the people for whom Pride might be a lot because of the crowds people have been able to attend.
Yeah.
Well, hello, everybody. Whether you're watching us on the Facebook, YouTube, on Periscope, on Twitter, thank you for being with us. Please feel free to share the broadcast. If you have comments, questions, concerns, you can type them. If we find them interesting, we'll address them. If not, we won't.
And if we don't know how to answer them, if it's real awkward, we're just not going to even deal with it. We're just like Southerners do. Oh, that didn't happen.
Be like, I didn't see it. I don't know it. I don't know her.
Do not ask us for advice with your life. We're having a hard time managing our own, and Emerson, remember when Sarah Hundley on the It Gets Better campaign said, and we had that email where if anybody was struggling to please, and she called me and said, I just don't think I'm the right person to give people life advice. Yeah. So that's the way I feel today. Don't ask me for life advice.
I, on the other hand, am happy to give unsolicited opinions on anything.
Good. Send them to Emerson Collins at hotmail.com.
I cannot believe you just said my email address out loud.
Is it a secret?
Well, I don't just give it out to everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You do.
I do.
This is a great lesson. Del Shores is one of those people. Don't tell him a secret because it won't ever be.
That's not his email. I'm so sorry.
His mouth is like a sieve. What is it they say? Tell a friend. Tell a friend, telephone, what is it?
Tell Del. Telegraph. Oh, telegraph, tell Del.
Telegraph, tell Del.
Sorry, I just, mine's everywhere. It's
like I said, anybody's business is suddenly everybody's business.
It's really time for you to change it anyway. It's just time.
I'm so glad for that piece of advice. Thank you.
You
don't send me crap. This is how you end up signed up on random email lists. It's like people signing you up for Trump email lists.
I know.
I have a contact form on my website for people to reach me that goes to a different email address.
Well, you gave me that great advice, and I really thank you for that, because it was like out of control. So I had to unsubscribe to a lot this year. A lot.
Brett said, "What's his phone number, Del?"
I really that I don't know. I mean, I just hit a button. So.
But on the flip side, I know yours because I'm always typing it into forms for our LLCs, our foundations, various things. I know all of your numbers by heart.
Okay, since we're just really off script, do you know what I did one day? I did this crazy thing on Twitter where I was mad at AT&T and I was going to get them. And so I wrote them a letter and I thought, I'm just going to post it. I'm just going to post it on Twitter. My phone number, my private phone number was on the letter. And so thank God someone wrote me quickly and said, you got to take that down.
Obviously, like those of you that are watching the show, we know so many of you personally, and I kid, I don't care. If you have something you need to send me, email me, but it's just on a principle. Shall we get on to our stories? Because we're going to do a little bit shorter so Del can get on to that broadcast, so make you miss us a little. We have been talking about, this month, as we talk about how to be anti-racist and how to support Black Lives Matter and queer Black people, and Pride was a protest this weekend in New York. In place of New York Pride, there was a queer liberation march for Black Lives Matter organized by the Reclaim Pride Coalition, whose focus is really taking some of the capitalistic aspects of Pride out and focusing on the issues that are the reason for Pride. Well, the New York Post reported that a police closed in to arrest a man who allegedly vandalized a police car with a black marker outside of the rally near Washington Square Park. A crowd of protesters attempted to persuade the officers to let him go, but members of the NYPD used force on the crowd that had been peacefully gathered all day, according to marchers who documented the interaction on video that was posted to social media, including pepper spray. The New York City Council Speaker Corey Johnson, who is gay, tweeted, "The first Pride started as a protest to police brutality. Today, peaceful protesters were pepper sprayed on the 51st anniversary of Stonewall. That is incredibly disturbing. We need a full investigation into what happened today." So our queer brothers and sisters were out protesting specifically to support Black Lives Matter and remembering how many people in our community are affected by both of these issues and more. And the police response, once again, seeming to be overly strong in response to the demonstration from protesters. So making Pride a protest once again.
Whew. And last week, a video from a sold-out event showing shirtless men not wearing masks at Heretic, a gay club in Atlanta. I love the name of that club. After a social media outcry, the general manager said that the club would continue to hold events while enforcing health precautions like temperature checks and mandatory wearing of masks, which would be provided free of charge. Now, several attendees have tested positive for COVID-19, and Heretic acknowledged 2 confirmed cases in its statement that they have suspended events out of abundance of caution. A source told The Advocate that there were dozens more feeling sick. The general manager's statement went on to say, "This is frankly a very confusing and difficult time for nightlife, for customers and business owners alike. There's a stark contrast in the guidelines coming from the state versus the advice coming from the health community. Some people feel every non-essential business should close, and some think personal responsibility is the key, meaning people should be able to decide for themselves." He said, "We believe it's both, and we want to do our part. Stay safe and wear your damn mask."
It's a challenge because I feel like there's 2 issues here, right? One, wear a mask, shut up, wear a mask wherever you go. Whether you believe it works or that makes your neighbors and friends and people you encounter feel better, if you don't have some kind of healthcare issue where the carbon dioxide is affecting your lungs in some way, wear a mask. Whether you believe it or not, it's not infringing on your rights, wear the mask. Now, the second piece is, and it relates to us a little bit as well, when we look at that this is probably going to continue through the end of the year, if not further and beyond, there are certain kinds of businesses that are looking at 6 months, 12 months, longer than that, of not being able to function because the kind of business they run involves people being in close proximity. This does affect bars. This does affect theater, what we do, the kind of producing we had to shut down for this year. But as we work to solutions for businesses, and whether that's government supporting the kinds of businesses that may need to continue to be stuck shut for the health and well-being of everyone, if you're the patron showing up and being a moron, there's no excuse. You know, it's one thing to deal with the business side. And in Texas today, there was some like Bar Lives Matter protest because Texas blowing back up again and had to shut down bars. Like, Bar Lives Matter, shut up. Shut up.
It's just stop. Just stop. I mean, it happened in Palm Springs too, Emerson, at Hunter's and at Street Bar. They've closed indefinitely because 2 employees tested positive for COVID, and all the employees who were in contact with the infected individuals will now be tested and quarantined. So is it worth it? And we have a good friend, I'm not going to say his name, but they went to a bar one time in Dallas, Texas, one time. And his boyfriend got tested positive. He thankfully did not. But, going to a bar because guess what? The bartender had it.
And it seems like still, it's like even Joe Biden in his press conference today, he hasn't been tested, but everyone that's going to visit him is tested before they get there. Until there's like continuous constant testing of everyone, and honestly, like regular testing, right? Like, this is my test for this 2 weeks,
right?
And temperature checks at all venues. It seems like we haven't done well enough at getting mandated systems in place to at least make it more likely what you're attending, if you have to attend, is safe. I'm still stuck in that. I'll be real honest. I'm not going anywhere I don't need to go for like ever.
Well, I
go to the grocery store to get groceries, going to the Rite Aid to get health and cleaning supplies, but like, I don't want to sit on a patio somewhere. I mean, that's my personal preference, but like, even the places you can, I have no interest walking past somebody without a mask.
It makes me so anxious, and it makes me mad at people when they don't have the mask on. I do have to say, I meant to send you the picture, but Friday I'll find it. They did, Theater Suburbia in Houston did at least one night of Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will in mask, which was, it just looks so silly, but that I don't think they were able to sustain and continue. I'm not positive about that, but a friend of mine sent me the picture.
Kenna Hartsfield said, one of the bathhouses here opened back up, masks required and social distancing encouraged. Tell me how that works.
Well,
unless only the glory holes are open, you are not going to be social distance.
Well, still, I mean, it's in semen, y'all. It's in semen.
Pull out.
Well, I guess you can stand across from each other and jack off. I don't know. We've
like, y'all stick to that.
Very X-rated here.
Stick to that face-turbation. And really, I mean, honestly, like the mask. Buy you a series of masks, match them to your outfits. It's the mild inconvenience at most.
Today, there was something, I mean, it really was informative today. I was watching the difference between the cloth mask and the bandana. They were showing how far the air actually goes out. And, the cloth mask, it's like 3 feet still that it's carrying. And so they were suggesting the thicker, the better.
Yeah, but also, and then the 6 feet still works at whatever level.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is in our Pride and Protest series, it is Pride Month, and many people use Pride Month as the opportunity to actually come out. And there's been a couple of fun ones recently we wanted to share on a lighter note. Taylor Schilling, who played Piper Chapman, the bisexual lead of Orange is the New Black, came out via Instagram where she reshared a post from visual artist Emily Ritz, who she's dating. Emily shared a loving photo of her with Schilling with the caption, "I couldn't be more proud to be by your side at Tay Schilling. Happy Pride." So I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
And then Nikki Blonsky, who played Tracy Turnblad in the big screen, the movie version of Hairspray, came out as gay in a joyful TikTok dance party to the tune of Diana Ross's classic I'm Coming Out. The caption said, "Hi, it's Nikki Blonsky from the movie I'm Gay." Which I love, because that meme early on when she was on Twitter and she was constantly tweeting people and saying, "Hi, it's Nikki Blonsky from Hairspray." So she gets the meme and she used it. And then Ben Aldridge, who was the super hot guy on the second season of Fleabag, came out on Instagram over the weekend saying, "The journey to Pride was a long one for me. I love the LGBTQ plus community and am incredibly proud and thankful to be a part of it. So much fun, so much more to fight for. Hashtag Pride." And finally, in our international catch up, 26-year-old Chilean basketball player Daniel Arcos came out earlier this month on Instagram, and he said, "I waited for this day for a long time, a personal challenge with new colors on my shirt," wearing a rainbow, "colors that before I looked with shame and that today I decide to wear with pride. I want to be a part of the change and build a society in which we treat each other with respect and can be happy. I am willing to face what comes despite the uncertainty that exists with what may happen after publishing this, but I think we are in a time to continue moving forward and eliminate closets that should not exist." So just a lovely rally. I love that people take this chance.
Hey, Emerson, I just want you to know that I think you sent me the old version again, because I did get to, because there were a bunch of stories that just got, so am I to do the conservative daughter story now? Is that?
No, you should be at the bigot pastor.
Okay, that's further up. Okay, yeah, I have an old script, but okay. So you'll just help guide me through all of this. Millionaire pastor Maury Watkinson of the Celebration Center Church in Christchurch, New Zealand, preached a big old bigoted and racist sermon earlier in June that was captured on tape because these bigots just don't care. He said that George Floyd is a villain. He also claimed that people who want to be bisexual are like the whites that pretend to be blacks or brown. And he went on to make fun of white people supporting Maori people. He really got going and said, "Homosexuals, victims, heterosexuals, I think we're the victims now. It's so uncool to be heterosexual, you know what I mean. I reckon the bi people that swing both ways are like a door. They don't know who they are. I reckon they're gutless." I wish I could do the accent, because you could just kind of hear the accent in there. "They don't want to offend anybody, so they're going to go every which way." Then he said, "I'm also a victim because I'm white and I'm old and have some financial substance." One parishioner said much of the congregation was offended, oh shit, by Watkinson's sermon, adding he was racially inappropriate and portrayed non-whites as lesser humans and joked and ridiculed people of color. His rant went on to include gays and bisexuals as well. He just covered everybody. Transgender individuals. I have lots of really good friends in that church, but it will not be enough for me to attend again. It's like that. I mean, last week, that 96-year-old woman, I'm going to find another place to worship.
Well, it's like, it's that same old refrain we've heard over and over. But I love her. She's like the woman at the Catholic Church we talked about last week. I love hearing these stories of people that are holding their pastors and their churches accountable, saying, "I will not attend. I will not be a part of this. I want to practice my faith in a place where they are doing better." I think that's the great part of that story, because we didn't used to hear that as much.
No, we didn't, and I think that's I loved our friend Rich Weissman's article in the Huffington Post when Sordid Wedding came out, because he said the fight next will be those people in the church who says, "No, this is not for me anymore." Like Latrell and Sissy did in Sordid Wedding. They said, "No, that's not, I know the truth, and this is not the truth." So really, if you Google Huffington Post, Rich Weissman's Sordid Wedding, because it's a really nice article. He really covered that. And I think we need to honor those people. We need to celebrate those people who are fighting for us within.
Yep. You don't like your church, change it, or change churches. Yeah. I just resent you the outline, so while I read this, you can get it. You can get caught up.
Thank you so much.
And in just a fun little, because I enjoy this, at a campaign event in Arizona, naturally, Trump walked out to Panic at the Disco song "High Hopes." When he found out, pansexual singer-songwriter and lead singer Brendan Urie tweeted, "Dear Trump campaign, fuck you. You're not invited. Stop playing my song." He then added, "Dear everyone else, Donald Trump represents nothing we stand for. The highest hope we have is voting this monster out in November," and shared a link to Headcount, an organization that registers people to vote at concerts and cultural events. This happened before, it'll keep happening, but I just love every time artists are like, "You can't use my song, bite me." Just makes me happy.
Yes. I'm working hard to get this up, Emerson. I got it. Yay. Now I just have to scroll down. Bigot pastor, read it up. Oh yeah, I love that story, by the way. When I read it, when you sent me the outline, I just thought that was fantastic. Yeah, I loved it. Just fuck you. Fuck you. So I love this story too. Stephanie Reagan is the daughter of the Republican State House candidate Robert Reagan, a pro-Trump Republican in Michigan who doesn't believe in climate change. He wants to make the English the official language of the United States and describes himself as so conservative he makes Rush Limbaugh look like a liberal. Stephanie tweeted, "If you are in Michigan and 18 plus, for the love of God, do not vote for my dad for state rep. Tell everyone." And of course, it went viral. Her father responded in a press release on Facebook saying, "I am happy that she feels confident enough in our relationship to express her opposing thoughts so publicly." Then speaking to local media, he blamed Stephanie's college for indoctrinating her with radical Marxist ideas. He said, when they go off to college, quite frankly, they get involved with these Marxist social universities and they start getting indoctrinated with things that are completely polar opposite from where you raise them. Adding that he and his daughter do not see eye to eye on a systemic racism, white privilege, and Black Lives Matter. So, Stephanie, yes.
I love that he put out a press release to say like his daughter can think what she wants, and then it went and said, but you know, she just learned it at college, and that's a bad thing, and he doesn't agree that white privilege exists, that systemic racism is a problem, and that Black lives don't matter. Like, sir, you're making yourself look a fool. I didn't put this in the outline because I just read about it this morning. Have you seen this? Because if you haven't, you'll be obsessed. Kellyanne Conway's daughter, Claudia, is becoming a huge TikTok star for the exact same thing. She is out there marching for Black Lives Matter. She is talking about systemic racism. Basically anything and everything her mother has said on the news about this administration and what it believes, she is out there on TikTok at 15 years old, I believe, saying, nope, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's my daughter Caroline sent me one today, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's on daddy's side.
But I've said it before and I'll say it again. George Conway makes me crazy personally. You know, it's one thing to like sort of disagree with a spouse. There's always stories about one's a liberal and one's a conservative. It's a little different when you're married and one of you is a teacher and one of you is an accountant and you're talking about who you're voting for versus one of you is a constitutional conservative scholar continuously slamming this administration, and the other is the person standing in front of the cameras being the mouthpiece for the policies that the administration is enacting. Like, it feels like the strangest production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, like at the Pacoima Community Theater. And I call bullshit on it a little bit.
It's well, poor Pacoima. They don't need them. That's like, why Pacoima? Y'all.
I don't know. It's just what came to me. But I feel like theirs is disingenuous because Kellyanne clearly just wants the money. And I feel like George may believe what he's saying, but he's setting them up for a like Fox News show after Kellyanne leaves this administration.
Yeah, I think that is probably the case too, because she doesn't seem that upset about it. She doesn't.
Well, but to me, it makes his seem disingenuous because of hers. You know, it's like, sir, you could do more than tweet about this. You could talk to the woman who's standing on camera espousing these and defending these policies.
She loves it too much, though. I mean, she really is. I mean, she takes responsibility for when she became his campaign manager for the win. I mean,
right. To me, she's a lost cause, but I can't take his opposition seriously, you know, when it's like that's who you're having dinner with at night.
I just want to get her a good hot oil treatment for that dry, brittle hair.
I do not care, Kate Westmoreland. I do not care. All right. Well, as always, we do this show because we want to share the news, the queer news and what's happening. And of course, our extremely liberal perspective on it. And if you are watching the show and have a few extra dollars to spare and want to contribute to our cause, because not going to lie, it is a good amount of work to get this together to share with you all, you can send us money on Venmo to me at Emerson Collins, or via PayPal to Beard Collins Shores Productions at gmail.com. Yes, you got to write the whole thing out. It's down there in the ticker. And you can do that while we roll on. You just switch to browser tabs. It's real easy. Or you pick up your phone while you watch us, tap it to the Venmo. It's much appreciated.
That's Emerson Collins' email address, that one.
Yeah. Now that we know all the informations. What did the donations get spent for? Stephen said, for my life. We are entertainers who are unable to entertain. We're unable to produce the work. So just consider it contributing a little bit to the paycheck. We're not with a podcast organization or a radio show, and it's 16 to 20 hours a week to put this show together. That's the real honest answer. In this time of Corona, we're being real honest.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We make money by standing up and performing, and it's okay. It's not there's nothing to be shameful about. We got to make some money.
Yeah. Well, and y'all, and we've chosen not to do this as like a podcast that you have to pay for, to put it on Patreon where you'd have to be required to pay for a subscription. So, that's the real answer.
And it's optional. It's optional, just like those resorts with clothes. You don't have to.
That's right. In related news, J.K. Rowling and her continuing train of what seems to be clearer and clearer transphobia and her supposed defense of women, she posted a thread over the weekend, somewhat basically declaring trans women are men by saying that allowing trans women into women's spaces, it is demanding that women give up their hard-won sex-based rights. The reason you can tell that it's transphobic is she included a graphic about changing room sex attacks in council sports centers or swimming pools. Now, the graphic showed of 134 attacks, 120 were in unisex changing rooms, 14 were in single-sex changing rooms. But here's the thing. By making that about sex assaults, it's talking about men being in women's only spaces. Well, a trans woman being in a women's only space is just a woman being in a women's only space. So in order for that graphic to be relevant, you have to be declaring that a trans woman in a woman's only space is not a woman. Does that make sense? Like, that's the logic you have to use for that graphic to be relevant. Well, in the thread, Stephen King, the author, retweeted one of the tweets by author Andrea Dworkin. That particular tweet said, men often react to women's words, speaking and writing, as if they were acts of violence. Sometimes men react to women's words with violence. So that was specifically about men relating to women. It was unclear whether he had seen the whole thread or what the larger point was. So after he did, J.K. Rowling praised him in a follow-up tweet that said, "It's so much easier for men to ignore women's concerns or to belittle them, but I won't ever forget the men who stood up when they didn't need to. Thank you, Stephen." Well, a reader who saw the retweet responded saying to Stephen King, "You should address the TERF tweet by telling us constant readers if you believe trans women are women." King responded quickly and simply, "Yes, trans women are women." In response, Rowling deleted her praise for King. So I know that was a little convoluted, but unless through the pieces, Stephen King said, yes, trans women are women, and she undid her praise of him, which leads us back to, through the arguments J.K. Rowling is making, she is essentially saying that certain kinds of trans women are not women who should be allowed in women's only spaces.
Maybe I'm reading all of that. I mean, I followed it when it was going on because I follow Stephen King and I love Stephen King's Twitter. It just made me so happy that I've been a Stephen King fan for so many years and have read so many of his books, and I've never read one of hers.
Well, I've read all of them, but it's frustrating because it's this boogeyman argument that's not real. You know, it's about protecting women and women's only spaces, which is a great thing and a thing we want to do. But by saying that trans women being in there, the other women, it gets into this convoluted language, are somehow less safe, is not true. They want to apply statistics related to men attacking women to trans women, related specifically to their genitalia at times, basically talking about the penis of a trans woman. And so you're getting into weird violations of trans women's genitalia and rights. And it's a boogeyman argument that ultimately is just keeping trans women from being safe in the spaces they should be in.
She needs to just shut up. I mean, it seems like to me that she's like, I'm right. It's like, just stop.
Yeah.
I don't know what her big, you know what I mean? It's like, why do you continue this?
Right. And by like declaring this about making this about trans women are already so unsafe. You know, we keep telling, we have another story coming up about trans women being murdered. Trans women, everywhere they go in the world is an unsafe space for them, and getting into intimate spaces and the need for safety and personal intimate spaces, it's declaring, it's making it more unsafe for these women who are even more marginalized than women in general under the patriarchy. It's punching down really hard. And it's also like, and quickly, because, you know, I've been on a journey. You know, a couple of years ago, I wasn't as educated about trans issues. I had to learn, I had to teach myself, I had to really understand these things. But like, ma'am, you have gajillions of dollars and lots of free time. Like, do better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's more trans news. The Archdiocese of Indianapolis has put out new guidelines targeting trans students. The policy and norms on sexual identify in school ministry approved this month says that any student whose gender has been legally changed from their biological sex, or who has chemically and or surgically altered their given biology, may not be eligible for enrollment. Trans, non-binary, or gender non-conforming students may attend if they are willing to go along with the Catholic teachings about the immutability of gender. The policy says that those experiencing confusion regarding their sexual identity may be admitted as long as they are open to accompaniment and the teaching of the church. So students should help these students navigate the difficult issues related to sexual identity while obeying God's will for their lives and living in accordance to church values. That's what the policy states. It emphasizes that the truth of human sexuality as male and female belongs to the very core teaching of Christianity on the human person. So Melly Barber, the vice president of the LGBTQ plus Catholic group Dignity USA, said it is essentially religious shunning of children experiencing gender dysmorphia. It is based on ignorance and misconceptions that are not supported by contemporary science. I cannot imagine that Jesus would do this. I am sure he would reach out and say, let the children come to me.
I love that so much. And it speaks to the earlier point, and that, you know, I find it so weird, people that want to go to the Bible to be transphobic. Because like, those clobber verses we talk about related to homosexuality, like there's some like actual truth in whether you believe it or not, like in the wording and where things mean and whatever, but like, it's not a thing. That's not a thing in the Bible. Like, it's so small-minded, and this to be punching down at the most vulnerable, you know, at our youth who are questioning, and this immutable male and femaleness is so, like, why are people so obsessed? Like, why do they care?
I don't know, but I love the people within the religion once again are fighting back, and here what she did was so brilliant. She clapped back with a scripture.
It's such an insecurity, right? To care so much about other people's gender and their expression. Like, our biology is so like strange and beautiful and diverse. Like, people go, there's just two genders. Well, first of all, there's not even. Like, at the most, even at the basic biology level, there's so many different combinations and divergencies and variations And then you put on top of that how your brain works with your body. Like, why do you care? And how people perform their gender or express their, like, I don't, like, what is threatening? If you want to be like the big guy with a Tonka truck wearing a blue shirt doing mudding in a field somewhere, or she wants, like, go do that. Why do you care what other people are doing? Leave them alone.
I know. I don't want to, so I'm not going to. But that was very, very Butch analogy there.
Hey, this is great from Danielle. From the Bible, you know, he made them male and female in his image. He made them. He made both Adam and Eve in his image. So he, you know, God is either trans or intersex because they're both in his image.
Yeah, Danielle.
He didn't start as one or the other. I love that, Danielle.
Danielle's got Danielle grew up like me with scriptures, so she could clap back with a scripture. Thank you, Danielle. It's so good to see you here today. We love you.
And related, I put these stories in a row all for a reason on this discussion of, you know, trans issues and doing better. And while we do talking about trans Black people and trans women of color, because it's all connected in this kind of story. Because when we deny trans affirmation to students and the attacking of trans leaders like Dr. Levine we talked about last week, and the deaths we continue to see. Last Thursday, the body of 17-year-old trans girl Brayla Stone was found inside a car in Sherwood, Arkansas. Local police are investing it as a homicide. Reports say she was found in the car parked on a walking path. No other details have been released thus far, or nor were there any visible wounds that might indicate how she was killed. And this part affects it too. Local news outlets dead named her in their early reports, and her family has reportedly made an effort to withhold her trans identity from the public. Last night in Boyle Park in Little Rock, Arkansas, they held a candlelight vigil for Brayla, sponsored by the Center for Artistic Revolution. The center wrote on Facebook, Brayla was someone who always held space for others to be themselves and express their identities. Despite the fact that these institutions didn't support Brayla, it's important that we uplift her memory and dedicate ourselves to seeking justice for her. She was 17 years old and her life was taken far too soon. We must put a stop to the violence against Black trans women. We don't want another Black trans woman's death to go unnoticed. All these things are connected, right? Denying the existence of trans people, denying the legal opportunity for trans people, schools that deny correct healthcare and mental health support for trans teens, the mockery of trans people in our culture. All of these contribute to a culture that can lead to these women dying.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. Kind of, it's a little bit of a light story.
Well, you know, I know that was a heavy series, but I've been thinking about my own accountability. You know, as we look at all these issues, right, where we are being accountable, working to be actively racist, working to be actively pro-trans, to acknowledge where we've done wrong, where we do wrong, and to do better in supporting people. So that string was really heavy, sort of on purpose, for us to be aware of the little things we are doing do help. But we do want our show to entertain you and to lighten you, and so this one is a little lighter, but also with a good contribution.
You know, you tell me these titles are not just for they're not to be read, but I love their title of this. It's Just Nips. There's a product that's available called Just Nips, and that's what it is. It's fake nipples. The pitch is the fake nipples designed to make you look cold and feel hot. Oh, I could do the commercial. On the website, and you said no.
No, I said, you sure could.
On the website, founder Molly Borman says, thanks so much for coming to check us out. Just Nips Fake Nipples. I know you're going to be obsessed. In fact, you probably already are. Everybody always asks me how I got to this point running a fake nipple company. And so here's the long, short story. I love the look. I made it happen. From the start, I always knew Just Nips Fake Nipples would be involved with breast cancer awareness and care in some way. As our product gained publicity, women from all over the world reached out to share their stories about post-mastectomy life without nipples. Instead of directing them to our shop page, we asked for their mailing address and we shipped them samples out immediately free of charge. It was the least we can do. We have successfully donated thousands of Just Nips Fake Nipples to various breast cancer associations and women in need across the country. She goes further to say, I love when people don't get what Just Nips is all about. Hard nipples are attention grabbers in every capacity, and the fact that we can use that to our advantage to help the trans community and breast cancer world every single day is obviously the best part. So yeah, it was a fun story, but it was also an uplifting story.
Well, it was like, I loved it. I found it as, one of our silly that reminded me of back when we did chocolate butthole stories and things. That like, at first you're like, well, that's silly. Like, who needs a hard nipple? And then you realize, one, it's cute and fun. And because if you want a hard nipple, go ahead and have one. But that she's done this thing that is really helpful to women who've had breast cancer, to trans women. I was like, what a lovely, delightful, starts out silly and is actually a really great thing that can give different kinds of women a confidence that they might want to have. So it just seemed like a lovely way to wrap it up. Because, Dale, you got a show to go do.
I got a show to do. Y'all come with me, and the Rise Together event. And I think Emerson put the
I'm putting it again right now. In 20 minutes, you can tune in and see his other show. A special thank you to Allison and to Paul Emery for your contributions to our show. You can tip anytime, even once the show is over. The Venmo and the PayPal are down at the bottom.
All right, I will see y'all over at the other hosting gig I got. So we will see you on Friday, right, Emerson?
Yes, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you Friday.
Bye.
Okay, bye.